Hi, my name is Paul. I'm a licensed real estate professional in Virginia, and my favorite type of property is the homestead. I specialize in rural property, recreation land, and farms, and that sort of thing. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about increasing the value of a property very, very quickly, and all the many things you can do. Many homeowners do not realize just how quickly they can make their property certainly a lot more attractive with a little bit of elbow grease and maybe a few tools and so on, and maybe some friends and family to participate. And I made another video about buying land and raw land and how you can make that very valuable quickly. At least increase the value. Just start doing something as soon as you take possession, as soon as you get that key to that new house. Just run over there and start doing stuff, because you're going to make it your lifetime. Maybe you're going to live there a long time. You want to make it comfortable, so make it more valuable so that when you do go to sell it, it has a lot more appeal. And many people leave a home to their family, so if you want to leave a home to your family, then make it look really, really wonderful and more valuable from day one. So I'm going to go through a little list here. I made a long list. There's a bunch of things that you can do, really, but I went through a little brainstorming and I highlighted some of the ones that are really, really easy, simple, that maybe people don't realize that they can be done. And then I have other groups of things that are a little more complicated, but over a period of time, and sometimes handy people can do some really great things. And I've done a lot of handy stuff myself. I have a lot of tools, and I don't have to call too many people. Maybe now and then someone comes to snake out the septic, once in 6 years. But most of the things I could do myself. So let's go through a few things here. I'll just run through them here. I'm not going to be in any order, but let's say curtains, paint, you can make quickly. You go into a room, I've seen a lot of rooms. I look at a lot of houses, of course, as a realtor, and I looked at one the other day, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, give you an idea. Here's an example, perfect example. The house itself, 1975, and it has like really good foundation, copper pipes. I mean, it's got a great yard for the area. It's in a small town, not too far away, and it's a popular town. It's growing. There's lots of upgrades going around. Now, you got a 1975 house, okay, that's 25, and now you got 30-some years of a house, and it's been through something, okay? So, on the other hand, it's got a really strong foundation, the roof is in really great shape, had a special kind of yard, and the back entrance, split level, had a deck that was very aging. And I went through the house, I started looking at other properties, and there's some really nice renovated homes in the area about the same size. Obviously, they've been flipped and stuff, and people go in there and they just clean the whole thing out and everything. So this particular property, it had one problem. It had been a tenant for about a year, and they didn't do much good with the bathroom, and they weren't very tidy and so on. So it had some cosmetic issues, okay? Now, the bones of the house is really, really strong. 1975, that ain't too old a house, and with copper pipes and a really solid foundation. All the mechanicals are good, a good water heater, everything's good in it. Well, there's a perfect opportunity for someone to do it yourself or come in and say, look, that bathroom needs upgrading anyway. I'll go down to Home Depot, I'll just strip it out one weekend with my friends, and within a week or so we'll have a nice new bathroom in there, and it'll be beautiful. And it'll make a huge difference in your property value. It's all perception. You see, if you have the clever mindset that you can say, like, the owner of a property, sometimes they don't want to fix it up or anything. They don't want to do much. It's hard for a realtor to kind of persuade some people that, look, you're going to get thousands of more dollars if you just do a few weekends with your friends. You might get a few more $1,000 for this house. But a lot of times it doesn't happen. In any case, so that's where you as a buyer can come in, okay? As a buyer, you can go in and see, look, okay, I can do that bathroom with my friends, or I can stain that deck. I'll sand it out. One weekend, on a dry weekend, I'll sand that deck down, I'll stain it, restain it, make it all nice, and I'll fix the loose areas and stuff like that. You can do that stuff. And it makes a huge difference. You'd be surprised. Now, let me go through some of the other things on my list here. All those outlet covers. You'd be surprised how many houses sell all the outlet covers, or the ones that are covering the light switches are all dirty. You can go in, replace them all, cheap, buy them at the restore, the Habitat Humanity, buy them, just throw a bunch of new panels on there and make it all look nice and dress it up. And meanwhile, while you're at it, while you got those things off, the light switches and so on, paint the room with some, paint does wonders, honestly. And you'd be surprised how many homes you go into And someone had a fairly small room and they painted with a dark color. Like, well, if you want a small room to look smaller, then paint it dark. But if you want to get that feeling of space, I use some color like yellow or light blue maybe, like a sky blue or white, even white maybe. But don't use brown in the room. And brown paneling, that brings up another subject here. A lot of times in some of these older homes, the prefabs home, particularly mobile homes, and people who did their own little thing, they just slapped a few, you know, that kind of paneling. You probably know what I'm talking about. This, I don't know what they call it. It's just a skinny, ugly, dark brown paneling that they just slap over. They can slap it over wallpaper and cover up the wallpaper or something. They do that sometimes. You can strip that stuff off. You can get rid of that, and you can paint over it or something, and then you have a totally different character. I've seen some homes that have been done to where they had that ugly wall mobile home type paneling on it, and then when someone went through there, wow, it doesn't look like anywhere near like it used to. It has a totally different feel. It's much more lighter feeling. So that's one of the things that you can do. Paint. Things moving up a little bit of the scale, you know, putting a sink in a bathroom. I mean, in a bathroom, for example. If that's all you need, sometimes just a new cabinet, a sink thing, or a new cabinet makes a big difference. Sometimes another thing I suggest is get unique things. Okay, for example, you can get the run-of-the-mill type of cabinet in your bathroom that you open it up and it's really cheaply made. It has a light fixture built in, and you know the type I'm making and thinking about. It's just an ugly thing, but it functions. Okay, now you can go build your own little thing with a mirror. You can go buy a yard sale, flea market, and find some unique piece to put there. And next thing you know, your bathroom has a totally different character than the average bathroom. So if you sell your home in the future and someone goes through and say, well, that's not the kind of cabinet I usually see in a bathroom, something like that. You add character, the way you store things. For example, you can get little wicker baskets. You can get different kinds of shelving. You can open up a wall in a house that gets a little more sophisticated. You can change the tub, you can change the shower, you can put new windows in. That's a huge upgrade. There are a lot of older houses that they're just crying out for new windows. You put a bunch of new windows in there, and nowadays, basically, if it's a standard size window, it's reasonably cost. I mean, the thing is, you get a huge benefit when you put in new windows, because not only do they look a lot nicer, they're so much more attractive, and when people go to buy it in the future, it's going to have a lot more value. And same while you're living there, if you get the double pane windows, the ones that are easy to open, easy to clean, you're gold. Okay, some of these old houses are really just desperately need those new windows. New tubs, new doors, door handles. Sometimes you replace the front door, replace the back door. Some of the houses' doors inside. I've seen houses where the dog scratched the door, you know, inside. Things like that happen. Picking up rugs. Sometimes you remove a rug that's been there for 30 years. Many years ago, sometimes people put rugs on the floor. They didn't want the cold wood floor, so they put the rug down. Well, it looked great for 30 years, but then after 30 years, someone comes along and rips up that carpet and say, well, these floors have been protected for 30 years, and now they're in really great shape. I'll just sand them down, and you know, it's beautiful. So sometimes you find some really nice surprises in some of these old houses if you look around. Bay windows, skylights are a really big, great thing. You put a skylight, excuse me, you put a skylight in a bathroom, for example. Oh, that's nice. People go in the bathroom and the sun, the moon is up there, the stars. Sometimes that's just a really nice thing to have in an upstairs bathroom. Use staining decks and porches, painting, screening something in. If you have a nice wide porch on your property, or maybe you have a large porch and extensive, so you can take a piece of it and put a screen in there, or maybe even make a little room in there, like a sunroom or a craft room or something, so you could add to your space. I was in a property one time myself, and what we did slowly but surely, it was a tiny little house. We added this kind of mud room, became like a craft and art room, and then we added on the kitchen. We had a wraparound deck, and then there was a little mini deck off the kitchen. We made that into a part of the kitchen, and had a pot hanger in there and some shelves. And so little by little, we opened up to everything, and we raised our ceiling and put skylights in a couple of rooms, and it was just really delightful. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but think in terms of making the property immediately more valuable, immediately more useful, utility. You can make a half wall between the kitchen and the dining room. Sometimes you have these older houses where it's like a, you know, some of the older houses, honestly, I don't really like the style because they're just so, you know, so many doors and so many stairs, you know. But everyone has their own style. Like cabinets, light fixtures. Sometimes you can go through a house and replace the light fixtures because they're the ugly standard ones that were put in there years ago from the 30s or 70s or whatever. And you go in through there and you put in some new light fixtures. And again, uniqueness. If you go and find a new type of light fixture that you won't find at Home Depot, you find it at a yard sale or flea market or some antique store. You put something really interesting in your bathroom or on your porch, or find a unique door that you've a used door or something like that, put your front door, anything you can do to make your property just unique character and beauty and harmony. And there's just many things. Made-in cabinets. People have built-in cabinets and shelves for their stereo. There are people who have, well, I personally did this one time. There's a foyer going down the basement, and we put all our CD rack in there, used real plank wood, and made a whole CD rack in there, and we put a copper sheet down on the stairway down the basement, so you walk in there, and you step in there, and you select your CDs, and some other things were in there, and we had a whole, you can make your property just incredibly useful if you have a little bit of imagination. And if you don't, look at some of these books. You can find many books and things online, do-it-yourselfers doing stuff. And you just listen to them and watch what they do. And there's a lot of things that the average homeowner could easily do if they just don't mind picking up a hammer, saw, wrench, screwdrivers of different kinds, things like that, sheet cutters, wire cutters. There's so many things you can do. Again, getting more toward the outside, you have things like a fire pit's always real popular, a barbecue area, a little patio is always nice, a little garden's nice. Even if it's just ferns, or even if it's just small shrubs or something, maybe you don't want to get into the huge production of a vegetable garden or something, but you can put little things around, maybe a little bit of herbs and cilantro or something like growing around your deck, and a little gazebo or a little trellis thing on your deck, or a little walkway down to your garden, and things like that. So there's a lot of features that people can add on their own to their property. A gardening is one, a good nice garden. Many people love a garden, and especially also people have pets. So adding the right kind of fencing, it doesn't have to be very large, but let's say you want to be able to mind your children and let them go outside, but you want to be able to keep an eye on them. So you can build a fence near your property right that joins one of the doors with a window so you can see it and everything. So there are features like that you can add that don't really cost a lot of money, and handyman, your friends can do it, maybe you and yourself can do it, and get into some of these kind of projects that immediately upgrade your home and make it a lot more attractive and useful. So I'll go through my list here and see if I missed anything. Open the walls, I think I mentioned that. Unique types of furniture. I mean, I look at a lot of homes, and you'd be surprised how some of the fanciest homes, that they don't have they just have boring furniture. They just went down, they had a lot of money, and you say, I'll take this, this, and this, and put it in my house, and whatever, it takes up space, and it might be comfy and everything, but it's not really that character, doesn't really have that extra special kind of character that you can add to your own home. And a lot of that has to do with your decorations, and I like personally interesting storage cabinets and things, because in our modern world we have all these cords and pens and markers, and I personally have paper and files and ink cartridges I gotta store, and records and file cabinets and all that kind of stuff, and compasses. And so you get clever with the use of space, and you find, like for example, behind me you can see a little bit of these hanging baskets are wonderful. Sometimes you can add character and interest to your home in a very simple way. It's not very expensive. So I think that's probably, I'll make another video about this subject here. There's a whole subject of Feng Shui. I don't want to make these videos too long. People appreciate them, like and share. I keep adding to my experience and interest. If you have any questions, please leave them below, and I love to hear the comments. So thanks again for listening.